Hello, everyone. This is Marita, one who catches lightning, with the Path of Ish podcast, Walking with Our Shadow, where we share ancient indigenous teachings of remembrance, all so we can walk and learn how to walk a path of radical self-love. As we come to the circle this week, let's just take a moment to arrive. So many times we are rushing from thing to thing. And in our rush, we are never present. So let us recognize all that which holds our life, all which supports it. And this is just beyond the roof over your head if you have one, or your steady paycheck if you have one. These are the small beings every day that support us. The sky, the moon, the stars, the trees, the birds, the waterways, the oceans, and the rivers. The weather itself, whether you like it or not, and all the ways that we are surrounded, supported by this planet and all living beings on it, whether they are human or not. And for this opportunity to be here now. So let's take our 3 breaths in and out through the nose. Bringing our mind into this time, into this place. In and out through the nose. Bringing our body into this time, into this place. In and out through the nose, bringing your essence into this time, into this place. And as we do so, let us then turn to the directions. Knowing that these directions are not just part of our external reality, but our internal reality. I have been sitting for years with a Hopi teacher, and we go around and around and around in the directions because each direction has a medicine, and each season is affected by the other seasons around it. And as the world changes and seasons change, so does the medicine. So does the wisdom. And so let us thank the east, the south, the west, and the north for being, for holding the medicine of what it means to be a direction through evolution, de-evolution, chaos, and peace. As we take these moments to regulate ourselves, to arrive, just notice how taking small moments like this, just the 3 breaths, the 3 breath practice by the path of Ish, allows you to be here now. To let go of anything that you put in the past or put in the future. And just let it go. You might decide to pick it up later, but you can just let it go. All of those strings pulling you in a million directions that you think are necessary, that you have a sense of urgency, whether it is real or created. Many times we create senses of urgency and we pass down that sense of urgency to another person and then to another person. Whole organizations, whole nations create senses of urgency. And many times this sense of urgency is very disruptive. Today, our conversation will be about disruptive technology. And even though there is a definition, or the idea was introduced by Clayton Christensen in 1995 Harvard Business Review article, we are going to play and expand upon this idea and notion of disruptive technology. And what I find curious about this is that when we began this series and we talked about technology, it was about making sense of the chaos to a degree. That technology was a way to make things simpler for human beings. Yet this buzzword of disruptive technology is as follows: an innovation that significantly alters the way consumers, industries, or businesses operate. This is to say, a disruptive technology is created because it supersedes an older process, product, or habit. Interesting, habit. They even put habit in there. It usually has superior attributes that are immediately obvious, at least to early adopters. And upstarts, I love that word, upstarts. Don't be an upstart. Have you heard that? rather than established companies, are the usual sources of disruptive technologies. Now, this is all talking about disruptive technologies in the business. This is an article by Tim Smith, April the 2nd, 2022, in Investopedia, called Disruptive Technology, Definition, Example, and How to Invest. There's a little video there about understanding disruption. Go check it out. And there's some examples. So in this article, it's talking about how disruptive technology, an example could include e-commerce, online news sites, ride-sharing apps, and GPS systems. And then goes on to explain that, right? The automobile industry, right? Automobiles, electricity, and the services of electricity, and television were once considered disruptive technologies. Right? Automobiles replaced horses. Right? Television replaced the radio. And electricity replaced, gas lighting and candles. And anytime a technology comes in, right, if you're starting to see this, it makes things obsolete. And when it makes things obsolete, right, quote unquote, it's because it devalues it. There's a better way of doing it. And there are people attached, though, to these things becoming obsolete. And not just people, but beings. Imagine having a business of horses and maintaining horses, and that was how you made your money. And then the automobile industry came and made your business obsolete. So then what did you do with these animals? Did you keep them? Or were they so obsolete that you just slaughtered them and sold them for glue or for food to try to make money? Money is going to be a big part of this discussion because it's talking about business. And we have to pause in all of these beautiful discussions that we're talking about and talk about that money aspect and how technology, whether disruptive or not, is extractive. Even our idea of better will be extractive. Everything extracts. We are not beings who have found, and we do not live in the societies that do not extract. Double, double negative. In other words, Western society, in any way of its advancement, has extracted from the planet, from beings, and from people. Societies extract. Anytime you try to build something, it can extract unless you learn a way of balance. And colonialism is a disruptive technology. It altered the consumption of humans. Humans as beings that were deemed or devalued. The business of slavery. The quote unquote discovery of the Americas. The technology of sea travel and the technology of destroying any other innovation that you do not understand. A disruptive technology, if we take it out of small business thinking and think large business thinking, is war. There is a lot of business in war, hence the term banker wars. War makes money. War diverts resources to specific areas of an economy and focuses it into those channels, and whoever benefits and is in that channel providing a good that war needs will benefit. And when you live in economies that have big scale and big choices, because part of the illusion is that you let people choose, supposedly, you have to narrow that habit of choice because they spend so much time choosing, right? I remember one time after coming back from spending months in Africa, shooting a documentary and going into an American supermarket, and I got so overwhelmed. It was so big, it was so bright, it was artificial, and there were too many choices, so I left. And that, right? How interesting that we've introduced this idea of personalization as a choice where people feel empowered, yet they're wasting so much time sometimes. If you keep people distracted, then it's easier to extract. So to disrupt that, you must create a dramatic shift or a call to unify that distraction and focus things. We started in business theory. I want to continue and go back and introduce disruptive innovation, which is technology, an innovation that creates a new market and value networks, or enters at the bottom of the market and displaces established alliances, firms, and products. So here we are speaking again of our good friend Clayton Christensen, but also Richard N. Foster's book. And one of the things that I find interesting is this risk assessment and risk management. When you are trying to create something, whether it is an object, which is what businesses consume and sell, or a war. We've even heard of market wars. There must be a risk assessment. We saw that in this conversation. Technology, innovation, that which is disruptive is about displacing. It is. That's its focus. And so when you're running an analysis as an investor or as someone who's creating, right, I would find it curious if they consider the shift and refocus of value and economy in what they are doing. We have seen what has happened when industries are devalued and people lose their jobs. We have talked a little bit about how the United States never really wanted to create free thinkers or creative thinkers. Their first, como se dice, universities were agricultural universities, and then the second were trade with the Industrial Revolution. The Ivy League was for the elite to then think of social sciences and politics and have creative discussion. But the masses were never supposed to be other than something that fed agriculture. That's where it started. And then the machine. So when you're creating a society where humans are your main workers or what you feed things, right? Because you're a hungry nation trying to grow, and you do not train them as you try to advance, then you leave many people behind. And I'm curious if anyone has ever made a threat assessment of that or a risk assessment. Because when you're developing technology, part of what some of these articles says, it has to be so much better than what was happening that the loss, you're willing to take the loss. But when losses are human beings and the environment, did anyone ask the people if they're willing to take that loss? Or are you so focused on driving forward that you don't care about the disruption? And we see technology and investments being disruptive to people who are not early adapters or who cannot adapt. And there's a value system that says if you cannot adapt, you have no value, you are not part of our new system. And as societies demand change to be faster and faster, it takes more resources to meet that demand. More resources from all of this planet. The more you want to do, the faster you want to be. Take an example, a rocket versus a car or a motorcycle. To go faster, it will take more fuel, more, extract more. It demands more. And disruptive technology demands loss, annihilation, de-evaluation. Disruptive technology creates waste and garbage. Not just of material goods, but what if society has devalued that could and many times includes people and creatures and other beings on this planet? Do world leaders consider the risk assessment of loss when they go to war? Do they ask the people, do you want to die? No. They have to redirect the infinite choices of possibility, supposedly, that they give people in a democracy to freely choose, to one way. So whether it is people running for office, as you see them create arguments over themes, what they will address, you need to unite them over big themes, right? Big needs. And you, to put yourself forward, need to say how you will disrupt the establishment. But the question is, at what cost? Even though we say that technology is supposed to innovate us, how does it innovate us out of our humanness, our human habits, our human fears and reactions? Humans learn through mimicking, and that's why history repeats itself. And that's why we see war upon the world right now. Wars greater than World War II, wars that are lasting longer than anticipated, wars that are taking more resources and longer time to win, quote unquote. And we're aware of some wars on the global sphere and unaware of others. And you could say, Marita, it's been happening since forever. And then my question is, why? If we have advanced so much as humans, why have we not advanced this? Why have we not grown beyond the human tendencies of fear and hatred? Why have we not found ways of universality? That doesn't mean that everyone has to be the same. We are interesting creatures, humans. Who are easily, one of my favorite words, bamboozled, easily programmed. Easily programmed bodies that work. And technology is getting to a point where our quest for it, or our quest for innovation, is feeding off of humans more and more and more and demanding more. And human life loses its value. And those who are proponents in some areas of pro-life, to use a term loosely, are proponents to create more bodies that can work and more minds that are easily programmed. And nations that do not teach, nor do they support, truly support, the education, the free thinking, the creativity of a human life or being. Instead, they seek to indoctrinate from the beginning. Program. And part of the benefit of this system is that you get the newest technology. And people who do not want to participate are not only seen as outsiders, but a war is declared upon them. The disruptive technology of war or imprisonment is created to disrupt not just governments, but that human value, and not just human value, but that, as we began this series, that promise to have an easier life as a human being. You're taking it away from someone else, their ease of life, their ability to go to work without going through checkpoints, to live in fear every day of your house being bombed or being harassed by the way that you dress, how you identify, what your pronouns are. And I don't understand it. It breaks my heart. my hope is that these conversations on technology that we have been having, on innovation, with dreams, with tarot and oracular, and now with disruption, will be that, a disruption to wake us up from the dream, which is really a nightmare that society has created for humans to die in. I understand that nature is chaotic. I understand it in my mind intellectually, in my body that is aging, and at an essence level. I don't think we are here to have an easy life. And that promise has created so much destruction because people cannot or have not been taught how to hold multiplicity, not just duality, multiplicity. I was watching an interview lately with Kumu John Kaimi Kaua. Hopefully I pronounced that right. I'm trying to learn Hawaiian. Talking about how when the Western mind doesn't grasp something intellectually, it devalues it, or it becomes obsessed by it. I'm adding that. Obsessed by trying to make it fit in a way that they understand. While the indigenous mind, and he was speaking of the Hawaiian culture and mind, who believe that everything has a physical and spiritual dimension. When looking or approached by something intellectually that they didn't understand, their words, not mine, they weren't worried about it. They didn't stress about it. They didn't abandon it. They didn't obsess about it. They followed the deep relationships of the environment that they were living in, which includes their intuition. If your intuition has been shaped by society, your diagnostics of yourself and your surroundings will be very different from someone whose intuition has been shaped by a natural environment and by one that speaks to live in this world and not of it, and to live in balance. If you are a human-centric person, your reality and your needs and your urgency for things will be very different from someone who is not human-centric. And one to the other can find each other disruptive. While I am conscious that we cannot change the world, that it takes a long time to change establishments, big things that we have created. I do understand that we can be responsible for the war that we create within ourselves, the separation of our mind, our body, and our essence. And this EEK 3-breath practice is a technology that I am sharing with you to help you in that process of unification, to create more ease. The ease of not fighting always with yourself. It doesn't mean you're going to like yourself better. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be at fault or that you're going to be a better person. But it will let you get to really know who you are, how you operate, what you believe, what are your habits and your habits of innovation or thought, how you learn, your needs, your true wants, and to look at really free will and choice. Talk about a disruptive technology to end the war within. This is my gift to you. The 3 breaths, the EEK 3 breaths. Simple yet so complex, the interweaving of everything behind it. And I hope that you will join me in a circle soon to experience not just the EEK 3 breaths, but the ceremonies that we have created with this breath and other parts of it. It's not just 3 breaths, there's other things to help you on your journey. Whether you are on a journey of reclamation or on a journey from grief to freedom, not freedom from grief, but knowing how to walk with it. This journey of, if I die today, what have I left undone? Can you sit with that and be present? And it presents you right here, right now. And it's not about your bucket list as much, but it's about resolution. Knowing you will not resolve everything or be resolved with everyone. That's not possible. But can you learn to be unresolved about a few things and let it go? Especially when it comes to the fact that we are a species trying to live just as a species, but also in relationship to others. For we are not isolated. To hold big medicine sometimes means, and many times means, that you have to hold resolution and non-resolution. And even though it doesn't make sense, to not get into that habit of thinking everything needs to make sense or to have ease. But knowing that you have a capacity and a capability to be more, to hold more, to experience more. Yet so many technologies, even some breathwork technologies out there, are about the human escaping from their experience. And if we introduce mantras, prayers, breathwork practices that are extracted from the environment where they were created in with nature, in balanced life, then what you are teaching people and giving them is an extracted method where you are teaching them to devalue not just their life, but all life around them. You have sent and given them a bomb to continue the war within. My prayer, my hope, is that we recognize there is a long road ahead of us, and that we find technology, whether it is dream work, oracular, or disruptive, that brings us back home. Shade. Once again, it is with deepest gratitude that I bow to you for joining me on this podcast, this episode, this circle, this plática, this meditation, this remembering. I hope that you have stayed curious. I hope to see you in the circle again next week. So make sure that you like or follow. Until then, may you be blessed with abundance of peace and radical self-love.